Awesome. Thank you guys. See you later. I have to go. I'm on a call that's already late for the call. It's 5 minutes late. I'll call you as soon as I'm done. Okay. All right. See. Hey guys. Sorry I was late. Almost forgot about everyone.
Yeah.
What's up, everyone? I like Amateur Hour. It always makes me happy when I see it. Your name's Amateur Hour. I don't know why I like that. It makes me happy. Hey, Samira, how are you? So what's everyone got going on? I know Samira's full-time now, not by choice, but she's like, I'm ready to get pumped. What can I help you with?
Actually, yesterday I spent the day talking to hard money lenders and lending home as well, getting information. So I'm in the process of getting my LLC done. So I can get things ready. He said he's, once I find a property, send it to him, and he could send me a pre-approval letter that I'm all ready to go with that.
Okay.
I just need to tie those things up. And then I talked to a wholesaler the other day as well. I saw a property on Zillow. Was it Zillow? One of those. Anyway, he said it was under contract, but that he'll keep me in mind for something in the future. So anyway, just kind of just trying to really get into
Starting
it.
to move.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Have you connected with an agent yet that you can start getting like listings on a regular basis and start, where you every day you're looking at properties?
No, I have not done that yet. I need to do that.
That's a good source. I mean, that's obviously a good source. So every day you have something to look at, right? And then what happens initially in the first 30 days, what I always recommend people to do is to get those listings coming in. And for the first few weeks, maybe you don't get a deal, but you get a lot of opportunities to evaluate deals, and you start getting more comfortable around the evaluation of deals, which means like if a wholesaler calls you and they got a good deal, well, because you've evaluated 10 or 15 before that deal comes up, you're more likely to get the deal with the wholesaler because you can be more decisive with the numbers because you're starting to get comfortable with it. When you're super new, it's hard to get deals with wholesalers because in general, they don't usually just give you good deals. You have to kind of negotiate the deal, and you got to be pretty certain and be able to take decisive action to win with them because, you'll have to push them a little bit. Look, I'm here and I'm going to get this done for you. And that's usually the reason they'll sell to you at a little better price because they trust that you'll get the deal done. And that's going to come usually through your tone and how you act around, your confidence level, essentially.
Right. Yeah,
that confidence level skyrocket.
I was going to say, we actually spoke for about 30 minutes. So
cool.
I was getting to know him and vice versa as well. So it was a good conversation.
Well, now you just need 50 more of those.
Right.
Because unfortunately, I wish there was one dude that I got everything from. But unfortunately, I generally get a deal here. It's about me looking at a lot of them. And then when the one guy gets lucky to have a good deal, then I'm able to jump on the phone and it happen pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I literally can tell you that every wholesale deal I bought this year, I did not buy 2 from any one wholesaler.
Gotcha.
And I'm about at 10 right now. So I guess that says a lot, right? That it's hard to do repeat business. It's not because of any other reason. Then most wholesalers don't have good deals. Their deals are kind of crappy. So we're just solving for when they get lucky and they've got a pretty good deal. And maybe all the stars are aligning so we can, jump in and make something happen. Sometimes it happens, right? Sometimes we get a pretty good deal.
Yeah. So that's what I've been doing.
Cool. That's good. That's a good routine. I would say the only thing I'd add to it is just your MLS stuff so you can get that coming to you daily.
Yes.
You're welcome to talk to my mom about it. She would do that for you or any other agent that's out here on the group that has access. They can send you some listings. Now, you're clear on what areas you want to look in?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, just make sure of all that. And then, so now what I would say, since you have a little more time to put into this, what I would tell you maybe between now and next week is for you to get some deals to look at, right? Start getting some deals, start evaluating them. Next week, I'm going to be on a cruise, but I am going to try to do a call in. I'm going to try to just, it'll be a call, but I don't know that I'll be able to get it. I know I won't be able to get any Wi-Fi. Last time I tried to get Wi-Fi on the cruise, it was like no chance. But I'm paying for like an unlimited phone call. So I'm going to have Delonte set up like a little different link where it might be like a call essentially, if that's okay for everyone, just so I can still support you and give you what you need. I just might have to do it in the morning or something like that. That's what we're trying to figure out now. All right. But what I would say is between now and next week is start analyzing deals and making offers. Don't matter if you're bad at it, you're good at it. You only get good at it through doing it, like anything in this world, I guess. Practice. Right. And that is the number one action, by the way. So when I always like talk to my new sales reps, and you guys as students are much like a new sales rep, I'm always like, look, there's only a couple activities all your money's going to be made from. And it literally is looking for properties, making offers. Like that's the number. If you did nothing else, but you did that, you'd be okay. Now, if you do everything else, but you don't do that, then you won't really make money usually. And I've seen people that do like everything really well except for that one thing. And they're like, why do they don't make money? They're so on top of stuff. But what I've noticed is they're not really very efficient with like getting and looking at a deal and then shutting the world off, right? That's kind of me. I'm like a shark in water is what I've had to train myself to be. Like if there's blood in the water, you got to go jump at it and get it before the other sharks eat the fish that's, dying or whatever, right? When the food's there, the other sharks are going to get it if you don't get it quick enough. So you got to stop everything you're doing and just go straight after it. And that kind of mentality is very helpful. And then you'll find that most of the other things you think that you need to do aren't that important. Like getting an LLC, not very important, right? I mean, it sounds important, but you can get an LLC online in about 10 minutes. And but it would make sense to get that LLC once you actually have a deal or when you get closer to getting a deal, obviously. This isn't a bad time of year to get one, though. If you are going to get one since it's the beginning of the year, it's a perfect time. You'll have it for the whole year now. I always recommend don't buy LLCs in December if you can help it. They literally go bad in like 2 weeks if you buy it in the middle of December because they're good for a year. It's $150, and if you go online and buy it, and it's good for a year. Then the second year you have to pay $300 to renew it. So imagine if you bought it December 14th, you would be paying $150, but then $300 after the first. So it's not a very optimal time to buy it. I only recommend buying it in that month if you have to because you got a deal. Then obviously, who cares, right? If you got a deal, it doesn't matter. But a lot of times people buy LLCs just to have them, and I don't buy them until I actually need them. Because specifically, like, what am I going to use it for? But not a problem to have it. Just don't buy anything expensive. Just get the one online for $150. I have had people tell me they like paid someone like $1,000 to $3,000 to get an LLC, and it's not a good use of your money in the beginning. Not really needed. Cool. So you're on track, and it sounds like you got some good stuff going. Mita, how's everything going? I know, Mita, you're going to be buying a rental. You have any questions about that, or you want to do any review of it?
Have a question about that. So I know that when we had spoken, I had asked about some financing it personally, but my father-in-law's financing it. But then I wanted to go ahead and refinance with the bank. Now, when I do that, do I have to wait a year to refi, or can it be done immediately?
That used to be the rule, but now the seasoning is either nothing or like 3 months with many banks. There might be some banks that make you wait a year, but there's plenty of banks that have no seasoning. So all they require is that you have a tenant in and that you're getting rent, which is the case on this. Right. And if you have a tenant, you're getting rent, then they'll do an appraisal the second that you own it. So there's a lot of banks like that you can do that with. And I'll if you want, I'll get you a couple to start with because I actually have a few that I need to refi. Okay. And we did have someone in the group that was doing it for us, but unfortunately he's doing so much real estate, they kind of decided that they didn't want to let him keep working anymore. They were like, you're focusing way too much on real estate. And they were like, got butthurt because he was running this whole real estate business and his boss got kind of mad at him. So he is officially out of a job at the end of the month. So obviously he's the one that he did all that for us too. He knew exactly what we needed. Okay. But I'll ask him who he's going to because Matt's going full time now, not by choice. Yeah, he got pushed out. Well, that's a good thing. When you're doing so much real estate that your bosses fire you, it's actually probably good. Like, you're doing something right. They're starting like, hey man, you're not paying attention to this anymore. Okay. So he ran it as long as he could. But I'll ask him, and I'll ask a couple other people who are the best people. Jason probably even might know someone. I mean, who do you use, Jason, if you're going to refi? Is there like a local bank you're working with?
I was using Finance of America, but I got a new guy that I'm going to use. His name's Todd Mummert. I have to find his number, but
okay.
You don't require any management experience. You don't have to have lead-free You don't have to own it. Be simple. 75% LTV. And I think right now he said his rates are like 6.25 to 6.5. So it's pretty good.
Okay.
No
And
income statements.
And do you have to, is that a personal loan or can you get it on your LLC?
That's LLC.
Okay.
If you want,
I think but one thing I believe that one thing that you should know is they likely are going to make you personally guarantee on almost any loan.
Yeah.
Just so you know, not a personal as far as they're not going to make like you qualify personally, but you will be signing personally that if you don't pay, they can come after you personally because they don't care about your empty LLC. They're
Right.
going to need more guarantee than that.
Okay, so I wasn't sure whether it was easier to refinance if I had the property held personally or in an LLC, but I guess I'm buying the LLC anyway, so it's already in the LLC.
It is easier in the LLC, by the way. A lot of times, personally, it does make it a little more difficult. So you do want to have an LLC. I think that's actually one of the requirements of most of the people is that you own an LLC.
Okay. All right. So Jason, do you mind posting that information, your guy, on the Facebook page?
Yeah, it's fine. I can throw it on there.
Okay, thanks.
So I had one I was supposed to be refining just recently. You guys probably heard about the one that I bought that was like 102,000 worth like 220 and needed a little bit of work. It was getting like $1,400 a month, but should be getting $1,800 because it was only a 1-bedroom voucher, but it was really a 4-bedroom house. So the lady's voucher got demoted. Well, her daughter was living there and burnt the house down. So it might end up being like a great win. It looks like it's going to work out really well for us because now, since they burnt the house down, I'm going to get the whole thing renovated by the insurance. And now I have a renovated house that I only 102 on. It's worth 220. So I was like, I thought this was awful at first, but I'm thinking this might actually be really good because they're going to have to renovate it back to new condition. So it might turn out being kind of a blessing in disguise. Not that I hope for anyone to burn my houses down, but I guess that I'm glad that all the insurance that I pay, that every once in a while I get to get a little bit back, and you see the use in it. Because I'd never had a house burned down to this point. This is the first house I ever had burnt down in 10 years. But glad I had insurance now. Of course, I probably paid $400,000 in insurance to collect like 50. So that is the sucky part of insurance.
And then do you have an insurance guy that you recommend, or?
I have a guy I use called Moran Insurance. They're in Severna Park. I recommend them because they first of all have shop rates, and their rates are as good as anybody's. But more importantly, I'm kind of like last minute with a lot of stuff. So a lot of times I'll call him and be like, hey, I'm going to settlement in like 4 hours, and can you put a binder together? And often he'll do it like the same day or the next day pretty quickly. So he's easy to get to communicate with, and they're on top of stuff. I use him for when I'm renovating, like builder's risk, and I'll use them to get like rental insurance. But I'll let you know how good they are at paying out and all that, because I'm just first time I've ever had to like do a claim. So we'll see if they're easy to get money from. I'm assuming they are. They're not. They're just a insurance broker. They're using like real companies and stuff. It's not like they're doing a kind of small time operation. I just like them because everything with insurance companies is about them finding the best prices for you and them being, quick to respond to you when you need it. So you're not waiting like days, and it's a big headache. So I've shopped them against many other people, and I've not found anyone really cheaper. Apples to apples. I found people who are cheaper because they were like, oh, we're taking this piece of coverage off that I actually needed. But when we really get down to the numbers, I've shopped. My partner used to shop him like every year. And we never left him. So that tells you a lot, because my partner was a cheapskate. And if he found someone that was like $8 cheaper, he would change. Where I was kind of like, hey, they got to be considerably cheaper for us to make a big change like that. But he couldn't find someone that was $8 cheaper.
Okay.
So let me think what else. So anybody else have any questions? I know, Mita, if you want, we'll take it. I sent you comps for that property, actually.
Yeah.
So Jason, you know Edmondson Village, right, Jason? You pretty familiar with Edmondson Village?
Yeah, I know a little bit.
So she got a deal that's $72K, is fully renovated, and is collecting like $1,300 a month rent. Now that's market rent. If you're Section 8, you can get about $1,500. But you got a tenant in there, so I would never kick the tenant out that's paying and wants to stay. The house has been fully renovated by a contractor, nice condition, like really good condition, not like a cheap renovation either, like a good renovation. And she picked it up for 72.5. The comps on the street are like 145, 150. Like that's a steal, right?
Yeah, I guess it depends if they upgraded the electric and plumbing.
Everything
stay
is
away from
upgraded.
it.
It's full rehab.
Everything.
Wow.
Yeah, it's 100%. The lady put like 45, 50K into it. Her husband's a contractor, and they did everything. Like it looks like one of my renovations almost. I mean, minus like, they have white appliances, but they did granite. It's actually a very nice house, fully renovated. Got the 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms, 2 baths, finished basement, full electric, plumbing, roofing, windows, all new, everything. It's a full renovation. It's not like sometimes I see people do rental upgrades and they underdo it a little bit, which I'm okay with. I think that's fine. But what I would probably give her advice if she asked my advice was that she actually overdid this rental. I don't think she needed to do as much as she did, but it's the first one she did, so she didn't know. And I think she actually put a little too much into it. But with that being said, her mistake is Mita's actually reward, because she gets an opportunity to buy a house that's been over renovated for a rehab. I mean, for a rental. And I think, Jason, you probably go a little crazy too. Like you're looking to do like full gut renovations, and you really just don't need to do that. Like plumbing and electric is like such a non-issue. I mean, you'll figure that out. I mean, if you have working plumbing, to gut and do all new plumbing is crazy. Same thing with a roof. Like a roof's nothing.
Most of the houses I'm finding where they're vacant for a little while, when we rip the sewer pipes out, the steel sewer pipes, they're terrible. Like there's so many clogs in them, like 90.
Cast iron.
Some of them are
Yeah,
bad.
cast iron.
Has the same issue.
Yeah, I mean, but for me, that's like not a big deal. Yeah, that's a real issue, but I look at it like plumbing. I'm not going to gut a house and put all new plumbing in it if I don't have to. I mean, I had like 30 rentals and I did rental rehabs on them. The same thing when I rehab a house. I know you told me you do a better renovation when you keep it as a rental than when you actually rehab it. And that's kind of weird, because you should be doing less of a renovation when you have it as a rental. I know that people will say, well, you won't have to worry about maintenance in the future, but I promise you, I've run the numbers. You make more money. I'm not telling you to keep stuff that's going to fail a year from now, like a roof that's, on its way to dying. I'm saying if a roof has 15 years of life and maybe it's got 10 or 15 years of life gone, you should wait and get 10 to 15 years out of the way. You shouldn't just rip the roof off and put a new one on. Like, get the value from it, right? I mean, that's just my opinion, at least, because I mean, it's a math, and the math supports my opinion that you should do that. But anyhow, you can go any way you want. I've seen like Dominion will full gut houses because that's their thing, so they do the same thing. But even when I've talked with Jack about that, he's like, yeah, we kind of like, they're starting to get away from doing that. But they have kind of the same mindset, I guess, as you, Jason, where like, I just want to gut it, make it new, and never have to deal with anything.
So do you rip out cast iron pipes and stuff? Yes.
Yeah, cast iron, yes, because cast iron is usually, if it's not already failing, it will be. It's usually going to not have good, but I wouldn't rip out like copper, PVC. I wouldn't rip out BX cable. Like if it's a BX, that's totally acceptable. Now, knob and tube's not acceptable. That's unsafe. Any kind of electrical panels updated, I would update the panel, make sure that's all good. I would make sure the house is safe. There's nothing wrong. We have GFIs. Everything's working well. That would be more what I would do, where I've seen some people say, well, it's got BX. That's like, a little older. So let's just put all new electric in. And for me, I would just upgrade the things that truly matter, because the BX has, like, I don't know, it could last another 30, 40 years. I mean, it could last forever, right? It doesn't really go anywhere. It's got metal around it. So it's not. Now, if it's failing and there's an issue with it, then anything that's broke, you should fix, because it's a great time to fix it when you're renovating. You don't want to save it until the tenant's in there, because Jason makes a great point. Like, you don't want to have to do repairs when the people are living in it. So if there's anything you can anticipate, you should do it now. But blanketly just saying, I'm going to renovate everything, right? That's like, we're always got to challenge ourselves to look at things from many different angles, right? In order to have the best practice, we have to look at things and say, okay, like this particular house might require that I do everything because of the condition it's in. Now, this house might require that I do half of the stuff because the other half has a lot of life in it and a lot of value that I can gain by keeping it. So that's the way I'm looking at it. I've done renovations where I've put 5 or 10K in, and yes, I went really crazy and kept way too much. and learn the lesson that Jason's kind of teaching, that like that ended up being a headache for me. And then I've had where I was like, okay, now I'm going to gut them. And then I ran the numbers on those for like 3 years. I'm not making any money because I gutted them, and I just over invested in them a little bit. And that wasn't really great. And I found that, okay, well, let me go case by case and make the best decision for each house, depending on what it needs and what it has. But like Mita's house is fully renovated. Like it's a full renovation, everything, plumbing, electric, HVACs, all new, like roof, windows, like they did everything in the house. It's not like, it's a really nice house.
Like a flip and a rental all in one. Once you refurbish.
Well, they essentially fixed it up. Yeah, that's what I was getting at. And I told her that like I would keep the tenant in there as long as she wants. And then what she can consider doing from there is if she wants to sell it, then she could sell it and make a profit. And she would have to do some work because obviously once a tenant leaves, you know, you're going to sell it as a flip. You're probably going to have to go in there and put stainless steel appliances. I think it actually might even have stainless steel appliances. I don't even remember.
Got everything in
Rashad,
there.
does it have stainless steel appliances? Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah.
you don't even have to do that. You probably would have to paint it, maybe put carpet in, because obviously tenants are in there for a few years. You probably want to put new carpet and paint. So you might spend like $10K getting the place like really tight and cleaned up for sale. But you're still, now you sell it for like 140 at the low end, you're still like really profitable. It's like a really good deal. And if you can sell it, if you could own it at least a year, now you're talking about paying way less taxes too. Because after we own it a year, we're only paying about 15 to 20% in capital gains versus like, you know, ordinary income, which could be as high as 40, 45%. So you're going to save a decent amount of money if you own it over a year. So this is why I love when I keep my rentals. Now, obviously she'll decide if she wants to do that and put some money in her pocket, or if she just wants to re-rent it. What I would suggest if it ever comes vacant is I would do a little bit of work, clean it up and get it really tight again. And then I would take Section 8 and get as much money as possible out of it. Cause I think you can get about another $200 a month out of it, Section 8. And Section 8 tenants in that neighborhood for a renovated house like that, they tend to stay a really long time. You get like usually, if you've done it, if you pick them correctly, you easily could average about 5 years for a tenant with a nice house like you have. You know, the nicer the house, the longer they stay.
Is that the one that you wholesaled?
I did wholesale it begrudgingly. I wholesaled it, and then like, cause I'm going to blame this on Rashad. So Rashad told me, oh, I think it's like 125, 130. I'm like, okay, well, that's a fair number then.
Well.
And then
oh, yeah,
you
no,
did not. And then he come to me and he's like, it's 150. And I'm like, I thought it was 150. I don't know why I didn't check that when you said that, because I was like, then we looked at the comps. I'm like, dude, it's like 145 minimum, like not 125 or 130. That's a big difference. But whatever. I mean, look, I don't mind because it was Mita. Now, if it would have been a regular person, I'd have been butthurt, and I just would have told him, hey, I'm not buying, not selling it to you. But, you know, I gave her my word. She said she wanted it. So at any point she would have said she didn't want it. Like, I wasn't joking. I was like, hey, Mita, I'm going to keep it, because once I found out it was worth 145, 150, I'm like, I mean, I was actually just going to keep it and kick the tenant out and renovate it. I wasn't keeping it as a rental because I don't really have money to buy a rental right now. I just bought like 3 of them, and I have one that I can't refi because it burnt down. So I'm kind of like, you know, I got enough rentals on my plate right now that I need to deal with. My rental business isn't like streamlined like my flipping business. So I don't want to buy more rentals and throw it on top. And next thing you know, I got a traffic jam of rentals that I don't know what to do with. I want to make sure that I keep everything in balance. So I wasn't really looking to buy a rental as much as, I just wasn't looking to. We have another one right now that Rashad, the same lady we bought from, and it's a 3-unit building, and they're getting like $1,700 a month, and it's fully renovated, granite countertops, everything, and $70,000, or I don't know, somewhere in that ballpark. But we're trying to figure out, we're trying to put it out to the market and just see what we can get for it, because it's a really nice house. They have 3 tenants, so that's nice. It's fully rented, fully renovated. The comps in the area look like about 130. So I think someone's going to enjoy that. That's a really, really good numbers.
Can I dig into your AFD on that house to get where your mindset is on that?
On what, the Grantley? Are you talking about the one that Bean bought?
Yeah, the one.
It's not. It's fully renovated, and it looks just like the renovation I would do. It has 4 bedrooms, 2 bath, finished basement. There's houses on the street that are selling for like 145.
On that actual street. Is that the one where
on that street? Yes.
I think Dunkirk was one of the comps, and then what was it, Grantley? There's one for like 155 or something.
I mean, it would be on Grantley. Yeah, it's on Grantley.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I don't know if Dunkirk doesn't sound familiar.
That's one street over from my one on Tremont. I think they're like one neighborhood apart, maybe, or I could be wrong. Is yours off of Frederick Road or is it?
No, so Edmondson Avenue. It's in
Oh,
Edmondson Village.
gotcha.
Yeah, it's right in Edmontonville. It's in the heart. It's one of the better streets in Edmonton Village. So, I mean, the comps are just what they are. I've sold about 30 houses there. I have sold them for 135, but that was like years ago. Now they're all going for like 140 to 155. They went up in value over the last couple of years, depending on the size. So this has 4 bedrooms above grade. That's a nice size, like 1,500 square feet. 4 bedrooms above grade is a really good seller. It's also a really good rental because you got 4 legal bedrooms. So Section 8 is going to give you full 4-bedroom credit. And it has a finished basement to boot, that doesn't have an extra bedroom down there, but you don't really need a 5th bedroom. But it does have that space that's finished, which makes it desirable. Yeah, it's everything you need. It's the full, I love the 4 bedrooms. Most of the stuff I'm selling at 130 to 140 is a 3-bedroom, 1,200 square feet. This is the 1,500 square foot version. They tend to go for the most money. So that's really just the bottom line of it. It's really not that complicated there because I've done so many deals. But let's just pretend it was worth 125, 130. Like, it wasn't like I was overselling it at that number. Like, that 130, it's still a steal. It's a great deal. That's why you can't go wrong with it, because at 130, I'm like, that makes sense. I mean, as an ARV, by the way, not to buy it, because you buy it for 72. There's no money needed, no tenant needed. There's no downtime. Like, she's going to have no issue getting comps on that. Sabina bought a deal recently. She paid 70 or 75 for that needed renovation, like within a block from there. And she still had to put 25 or 30K into it. And she was totally good with that. She said that was a good deal, she told me. And it was worth 150, the same thing. So she was like more than happy to buy that deal.
Yeah, if you're hitting a 130 ARV, you can refinance that for 100K. You get, after settlement, you get 20 grand back out of it. That is a solid deal. That's like beyond.
Well, I'm sure, she absolutely is going to be able to hit 130 without breaking a sweat. The question is, if you'll want to take extra money, I think you have that option, either that you could take extra money out and use that extra money to buy another rental or to do a flip. You don't have to use it to spend. You can use it to, and do some more investment. So that's pretty real. When you refi it, that's a big possibility. That's what I kind of hold that, Jason, when I'm looking at any of my rentals. If I think I can refi and actually walk away with money, then you got a home run. The biggest struggle most people find is trying to find a deal they can actually get their money back with. Like 9 out of 10 people buying rentals don't get their money back. They think they're going to get their money back. They're over optimistic and they don't get their money back. So I'm looking at things like, I don't see a scenario where she doesn't get her money back on this. I don't know where they would actually, they'd have to comp it at 100K for her not to get her money back, or for her to get about her money back. You see what I'm saying? Like, and there's just comps all day long for 140 to 150. So there's no way they did that. They would be a bank issue and an appraisal issue, right? You'd have to say, hey, bank, you're fucking up. This is crazy. You'd have to have a real conversation with them if they did that. I would actually turn the loan down if they did that and just say, hey, I'm going somewhere else. You guys can't do it's crazy talk. Only because there's just you have to get into smaller homes before you even hit 135 as an ARV. You'd have to get in homes that are 300 square foot smaller, and then you start seeing 135. Right, that's what it takes, 130, 135. But 300 square foot's a lot of square footage, talking 20% difference. So no appraiser worth their weight of anything is they're gonna make that appraisal. So yeah, this is an easy one. This is definitely an easy one to comp. The other one that's a 3-unit is not as easy to comp. That's our struggle with that one, because it's 3 units and we can't find any 3 units to compare it to. So all of our comps are like single units. I don't know what you think, Jason. Do you think a 3 unit's more valuable than just a single house?
I have no clue on that stuff. That's something I want to start.
I don't really either. Yeah. I don't really know. I know that one you can sell to a homeowner and the other you're only going to sell to an investor. So I know that an investor loves anything. So I've always had this rule that's always worked for me over the years. If you take the rents and you go 50 times the rent, and you made an offer that you would be all in 50 times the rent, I've never seen an investor that wouldn't jump on that instantly. So Jack told me his buying criteria, and because I sold a lot of deals to him in the past, and his was for D neighborhoods, the worst neighborhoods in complete, the ghetto of Baltimore, which is really bad, he would pay 50 times rent. Like Edmondson Village, he would pay 65 times rent for Edmondson Village. So like he would buy that, or like that neighborhood, he might call that like a 60-time rent neighborhood, but he would definitely pay more than what we have when he was buying rentals, because that's how he did things. Now, the worse the neighborhood was, the less he would pay times the rent. So he was like 50 times rent in a D neighborhood, and it was like 55 times rent in a what he would call like a C neighborhood, and like 60 times rent like a B neighborhood, and then like he didn't have a neighborhood. He kind of didn't do anything. And actually, it was like, I think it was like 50, 60, 70 times rent like an A neighborhood or a B or A neighborhood, but he didn't do much of B and A. He's more than happy to do C neighborhoods, which Edmondson Village is C, by the way, but the complete hood is D.
I mean, if he's doing 65 times rent in Edmondson Village, I mean, that's probably what, like 100,000 purchase price?
He's usually good at like, well, not, I mean, so this number's all in, by the way. It's the all in number, not the purchase price. It's the buy in the renovation. He wants to be 65 times rent all in, if that makes sense. It's not going to be a purchase. For this one, it would be a purchase, because he would look at it and say, oh, maybe he would assign 10K to it and be like, all right, 60 times rent would be 60 times 1,300. Let's see what that number is in my head. Actually get a calculator and figure it out, because I like to run it and just see. Yeah, this is how he does it. I've spent a lot of time, and I've sold him many deals where he doesn't just say he does it this way. He legitimately does it this way. Like if he says he would say this is 1,500, so he'd actually buy it for more if he had to. I mean, he would love to get it cheaper, obviously. So 60 times 1,300 is 78,000. So yes, he would be all over this for like 72.5. He would love this deal because it hits the numbers perfectly for him. But now if it needed 20 or 30K, then he would be like, I got to buy it like, 30K, he'd be buying it for 55. I've sold him a few in Edmondson Village. He paid 55 for, but they needed like 30, 35 and work. He paid 55 or 60 for them usually. So anyhow, it makes sense. He looks at it like that, but if you do $1,500, what you should be getting, he only does Section 8 and you go 60 times, now it's 90K. Which actually makes sense. He's usually about 85, 90K all in that neighborhood. And Sabina was saying she'd be about 100 all in. She was okay with it. But that's a completed renovated house at 100 all in.
Sounds like a
because she's looking at 100K. I mean, I've used it for many years. It actually works really well. And if you do it at 50 times rent, then you're crushing it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what that Grantley. I look at Grantley, or not Grantley, the other one. I don't know the name of it. Rashad knows the name. The one that has the 3 units. It's at 50 times rent, and it's renovated. So the rent is net. It's 1,400 net, right? Is that the case, Rashad's 1,400 net?
Yeah, about 1,400.
1,400 net times 50 is 70,000. So it's exactly what 70K. It's exactly what that's what they want to sell it for. So 50 times rent. I mean, there's no neighborhood where 50 times rent isn't a home run, because you can pay the house off in like 4 years of rent. So literally, you could put all the money back into it. You could pay this thing off in 5 to 7 years, and now you just got like $1,400 a month coming in. I know many people, if they had just a few of those, they could pay their bills and live. So anyhow, I kind of like it. I wish I had more money. I'm always sad when I have to pass on these things, but I do have to be thoughtful of my renovation business first. And I can't just spend all my money on rentals, because then I really over here like I'm doing 2 rehabs a year now. But one day, Jason, I'll be rich, buddy.
Are you paying cash for your rentals, or are you financing them?
So this is actually a good subject. I use hard money to buy them, and then I refi them just like everyone else. But what a lot of people are like, well, you're going to be no money out of pocket, so what's it matter to you? Well, that's true, but I can tell you all my rentals are like sitting vacant. I don't have time to mess with them, because they miss the point that money will have to be out in that rental until I get it back. So what if that takes me 4 to 6 months to get it rented, get it rehabbed, and get my money back? Might take, let's call it 4 to 6 months and get it completely refied. Well, I might have 10 or 20K out for that point. Right? If I got that 20K out times like 3 or 4 rentals, that's 60, 70K. That's a couple flips I can't do. That's like 3 to 4 flips a year I can't do, because that money's tied up. Now, the second piece of it is I have my resources out. Like, who's doing the work? I don't have unlimited people to do work. I have like 5 crews. They do my renovations. If I decide I'm going to do a rental, then one of those 5 crews has to be pulled off a renovation that they could potentially do and put onto this renovation for the rental. So like the rentals I did recently that needed renovation, well, I could have been doing a renovation that I made profit on. So I always look at it not just as like, okay, one day I'll be even, but I'm looking at it like, okay, I'm losing resource, I'm losing focus, and my money is tied up for a short period of time. And obviously, if I really get committed, that's why I'm only trying to do like 3 to 5 a year for the next maybe couple of years. I mean, that's reasonable. And in 5 years, I'll have 20 or 30 rentals. I'm okay with that. But the first 3, I want to stop right now and get those fully rented and get them refied and go through the process before I start piling on 2 or 3 more. Does that make sense? Not to do, like, I don't want to like overwhelm my system and start stealing from my renovation business and lose my focus. My renovation business is going better than it's ever went. So I feel like I'm always afraid to mess with when, you start to make a perfect cake and it tastes really good. It's like, well, let's just throw some extra stuff in it and see if it'll be even better. Like, no, dude, it's the best cake ever. Just follow the recipe. But no, I got to throw something with some nuts in it. Then everybody dies because they have nut allergies, right? I mean, you see what I'm saying? The whole thing blows up. The cake tastes awful. Because a cake, if you mess one little thing up, the thing will explode in your face and taste like crap. I mean, it's truly like baking is a very, very good analogy for flipping houses. When you get that perfect recipe, just follow it and stop trying to be like, like your own Iron Chef or something. We don't have to be cool. We just need to follow some simple recipe. Like, what did our grandparents do when they made the greatest food ever, right? They just literally best food ever. They, back in our grandparents' days, they would just like literally make a recipe and then cook it for 40 years straight. And you loved it. They never deviated. They weren't like, let's try something new every year because we watched this on the Food Network. It was just like literally, like my grandmother made chicken and dumplings and it was amazing. We just ate it and it was like, she never changed the recipe ever until she died. She would have been a great house flipper if she wasn't an employee. But you can use that mentality in house flipping. It's really good. So anyhow, hey Ryan, what's up, man? How's everything going? How's you in on the rehab now?
Yeah. So the demo is pretty much done now. So I basically decided to keep that 3rd bedroom instead of making the master. Because I looked at the comps and a lot of them basically had the 3 on the main floor. So that's the direction we're going at.
Yeah. I mean, if the comps told you that, that's a smart move. Like paying attention. I have to constantly look at comps over my own beliefs because my own beliefs sometimes aren't right, but the comps are always right. Right. The comps just don't lie. So, I have to get my opinions out of the way and get into the factual stuff. So good job on that. It's nice to see you. You don't have gray hair yet either. A lot of times people are you starting to get there? Well, wait till the end of this rehab. You'll have a couple extra. I've seen people do like 3 rehabs and like go straight gray. They look like they're 100 years old. It's like stressed out.
That though, so we'll see.
Wow.
The one little thing that I did do was I turned the small 3rd bedroom into, I kind of like expanded a little bit. I took away from the 2nd bed a little bit, so kind of made 2 evenly.
Oh, good. That's probably a good idea. Yeah, because if one's overly small, I mean, the main thing is if you have 1 bedroom that'll fit like the people who are paying the bills, and that usually we like that to be about a minimum of 12 by 13, 12 by 14. If you got that 1 bedroom that fits that, you should be able to accommodate like a queen, a king size bed with end tables.
I had a question about the rental refis. Actually, do you typically have visiting periods when you cash out refi at the end?
Oh, so actually, I feel like Mita asked that earlier on before you jumped on. You used to have a year seasoning, but now, no, that's not the case. Like people just refi them like right away. You just have to get a tenant in and get it fully rented, and they'll really just look at like what's called the DCI, debt coverage ratio, or DCR, debt coverage ratio. And they're usually doing like 1.25 debt coverage ratio. So, anything with like reasonable cash flow will cover that. Like I think to give an example, like Mita's deal is going to be like a 2.0 debt coverage ratio. So it's a strong debt coverage ratio. Like now deals that are making like $200 a month might be like a 1 point debt coverage ratio because can't really do a deal that's making $200 a month and expect them to refi because it's too tight. They know that $200 with some repairs and some vacancy, you'd be broke. So that's really the way they're looking at it now. And I don't know how long that's going to last because when the market did tighten up, they did take that away and they started, so hopefully they'll stick with it.
Because right now I'm dealing with a 6-month seasoning that it's a requirement for this particular lender.
Check out, well, Jason's throwing a lender up. Also, I can tell you if you go to Eastern, have you ever worked with Eastern Savings? I know Scott Freetag is the person. I don't know how good or bad he is. I know some people are working with him. You know, if you go on to what I would recommend, if you guys are members in the, what is it, the Baltimore rental? What is Mark's site, everybody? I mean, what is Mark's, what is that called? The Baltimore Rental Network or Baltimore Investors Network? It's like a Facebook group. It's like nothing but landlords on there. If you go in there and just be like, hey, who are you guys using to refi your houses? I'm sure you'll get like 10 people in general, because there's just so many banks out there now that are doing these types of loans. It's not uncommon. And most of them do not have any seasoning at all, or 3-month seasoning or something, which is not a big deal. 6 starts to be a little bit of a problem.
Yeah, I actually spoke to Scott Freitag a while back when I was doing my first refi, and his criteria was a little bit high. I mean, just for me, but I don't know.
Yeah. I would say that, how long ago was that? It was like a year ago or 6 months ago?
Probably 2 years ago.
So I'm sure that his criteria has changed quite a bit since then, because everyone's criteria has, by the way. So I know that many banks that wouldn't even touch a loan like this are now doing loans like this. In the last year or two, this whole part of this market has just went wide open. It's went from like you needed a year seasoning and you need all these things to like now you need like very little, right? It's getting really easy, and there's a lot of people out there that are. So once the, you know, what we call like the investors that support this start like opening up across the board, then everyone jumps on board with it. You know, a loan company can get new lending criteria, and Scott and them at Eastern Savings, they're always trying to work with investors. So like 2 years ago, I know for a fact when I talked to him 2 years ago, some of the stuff he was offering was better than most. It might have been tight for you, but for most, it was still better than what was being offered out there. Now, I would assume that he's staying there, but I'm not sure, again, because I haven't talked to him in a while. I just know he markets like crazy. With that being said, if you jump on the Facebook group, refining is all about finding who's hot right now. Like, what's the bank that needs to do these loans or is looking to do these loans, and they'll usually give you the best deal. I know when I've talked to people who've built big rental portfolios, there's like no one bank they've worked with over the years. They've literally had to go, like, each year it's someone new who comes in and is like gung-ho about making these loans, and that's the person you'll work with and do a handful of loans. And then next year you might have to create a new relationship. You know, you're just always shopping for the best deal. Cool. Awesome, man. Well, congratulations with your renovation. Any help you need on it? I mean, everything going pretty well. It sounds like you got the design going, contractor, you got everything mapped out as far as like pricing and everything.
Yeah, I mean, the only other minor design change that we made was as I was looking through the comps, I saw one house that had like this, basically they opened up the kitchen a little bit more. They sacrificed the small dining room area. And in relation to the stairs that were going down to the basement, they kind of opened that up. And I noticed that house went for at least 10, maybe 15K more than the other comps for some reason. And
Okay.
it's the open floor plan that I'm assuming that's doing that.
Yeah, if you have the opportunity to, like, if a basement wall, like the steps going to the basement, is blocking your view, then you easily can take that wall out and just put railings around it. We've been doing that lately too, and it really helps. It's not very expensive to do, but it does make a huge difference in the overall look. Because I wasn't doing that in the past, and I have to tell you, it definitely hurts your sale a little bit. So yeah, I would jump on that too. Awesome, man. Well, congratulations on the house. What else are you working on? I know this is probably keeping you super busy. You have some new deals coming in.
Oh yeah, actually I got 2 properties under contract, wholesale wise in Baltimore City.
Mm-hmm.
I got 3 lots in 21228 on the corner of Greenmount Ave and East 22nd Street. That's kind of,
Okay.
I just got that on Friday, and I've got a friend that works for the city, and I'm trying to see if he knows anyone that'll, that's interested in picking that up and because the buyers that I have, or the ones that I've worked with, I mean, like all they look at is like comps and like renovation costs. And when you're dealing with lots, it's totally different.
Yeah, it's really hard.
Yeah, there's really no comps for that. And the thing is,
It's
right now there's a couple like boarded ups in the area, but just a block away, there's a brand new development on Greenmount that the city just put up. So I know that development's coming towards that way on 22nd Street.
Yeah. It takes more of a visionary to do deals like that. So yeah, you have to shop a little more to find people to buy lots in Baltimore. Lots in Baltimore City in general are pretty, they're a little harder to sell because the values aren't, when you're selling a lot, you want the ARV to be at least 250 plus for it to be an easy sale. Because think about just the general cost of building a house. There's, like you're usually going to be at least 100 to 150K into building any house. So if you got like 175 ARV, it's really hard for someone to be really profitable. Like they almost have to get, well, even at free, sometimes lots in Baltimore wouldn't even be worth free. So in general, I've noticed when I've tried to sell lots, I've been more successful in the ARVs like 250 plus because people can envision easily the numbers making sense. Where people are doing that. So you certainly, anything you get under contract, you always want to try to sell and then just see what you find out. But my experience in the city is I don't think I've ever sold a lot in the city ever. Yeah. Probably only sold about 15 lots in my life and they all had been in counties and stuff.
Okay. Yeah, even on the MLS, it's to find active listings for lots in the city is tough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's just a numbers thing. Yeah, it's just not, the numbers aren't quite there. So I think there's also enough opportunity in Baltimore City to buy a house that already exists and renovate it. So you don't really need to go through the, long, lengthy process of developing a piece of property when there's so many opportunities to buy houses that just need to be renovated. And a lot of times when they're developing in nicer neighborhoods, it's because, there's no inventory or, they're filling a gap of lack of opportunity. Cool. Well, good luck with that. Obviously, let us know. So you've got that going on. How about anybody else? Anybody have questions? And hey, Devora, thanks for jumping in. I think it's the first time seeing you on. How's everything going? I know you're going through a lot of studies really quickly. Certainly, if you guys have any deals you want to look at, jump in and let me know. Or any questions in general, I'm here. And that's a big part of what we try to do on these calls is just like, what are you doing right now? What's holding you back? And, we want to try to bust through because we notice like as we're going through our development, we'll hit into walls, right? There's these little things that we're like, oh, I don't know the answer to this. By knowing the answer, we just keep moving forward. So our job on this call is to figure out the answers to whatever questions you have. I don't think we've ever had a question that I didn't have an answer for. Maybe Jason. Jason, you might be though. Have you ever stumped me, Jason? I think if you did, it was like a life question. It wasn't like a rehabbing question. It's probably something like, I don't know, a squirrel and a raccoon were getting a fight. Who would win? Something crazy. Who would be the winner? We'd have a squirrel. If they had babies, would it be a squirrel coon?
Actually, I got another question. It's
man.
About wholesaling in DC. I got a return mail on a direct mail that I sent out. Mm-hmm. It said vacant, right? So I looked it up in the in DC's version of SDAT, and it has it listed as vacant. So what do you do at that point? Because her address.
You probably have to skip trace the owner. Have you tried? Yeah, have you tried skip tracing the owner and doing any kind of research on the owner?
Yeah. I try to do kind of like my own version of skip tracing, and it just came back to the that same premises address.
Like no one owns it?
I know the person that owns it, but it's listed as vacant, but it also lists their address as that house.
Oops, sorry about that, guys. Sorry about that. Phone came busting through. I don't know the answer. It keeps coming back as the address, but then the mail won't be delivered. Yeah, you're gonna have to do a deeper dive. You're gonna have to almost do like, and I haven't done that because I don't usually go into that too much. But I can tell you, they can tend to be juicy deals. Whenever you have something where no one else can find them, and then you do find them, like they might not even find the own the property. There's like some really amazing deals there. I would go online and just say like, what is it to skip trace someone? There's like, I just haven't done it because I have so much else going on. But I have a lot of friends who are like, you know, I had this super deal I found, and I found this lady no one else could find, and she didn't even know she owned the property. And like, you know, so for her, she just sold it at whatever number because it was like found money. So I just never do it because, you know, we have to have time to do things. But if you're working less leads, you should go every avenue. I just have a lot of leads, so I don't need to dig that deep. So skip tracing is that's just go to like I think reiskip.com is one that I've used before, and there's a bunch of skip tracing services. It might be worth paying a couple bucks to do it.
Yeah, I found it interesting that the DC version of SDAT actually has vacant as a category or a, you know, designator for certain houses. So
Hey, also, have you found, you got her name? Did you look for her on Facebook?
no.
Usually what I'll do is look for everyone named that in the area on Facebook, and then just send a private message saying, hey, are you the owner of this property?
That's a good idea.
And that's one of the ways that you use, like the easiest, fastest way to try. And someone says yes, then you're in. Now you can say, hey, well, I noticed that you own it. Hey, do you have any plans of selling it? Half the time, like, I didn't even know I owned it anymore. So yeah, if you can find, and DC wholesaling is amazing. Obviously, some of the biggest assignment fees you'll ever get are in DC. You have to work really hard to get deals, but you generally have no problem selling it for way more than what it's worth in DC. So, you know, it's not uncommon to get a $20,000 to $100,000 assignment fee in DC. So yeah, check into that. Yeah, go ahead, man.
What happens when there's a probate case and the person that died has a house but doesn't have a will? Does the personal rep have authority to kind of disperse?
Yes. Yeah, they don't even have to go through probate if there's a will. A lot of times if there's a will, you don't even need to go through probate. It can just be inherited right through legally. When probate, they go into probate, that means there's some hearings and they got to do some different like cases. But yes, the PR, the personal representative, has the power to sell the property. So you just want to reach out to them.
Okay.
Yeah, once you're in contact with people who have inherited the house and are in a position to sell it, it doesn't really matter where they are in the probate process. A lot of times you'll say things like, well, I would need to get farther through I've had people who haven't even started the process, and I helped them start it, and that was a great way for me to get a deal. They just want someone to help them through the process. Now, when I say I helped them through the process, I don't really know the process. I just referred them to an attorney that I knew that would be fair with them, and actually only charged them like $1,500 to do the work, where a lot of probate attorneys will charge like a portion of the estate, and, you know, it can get really expensive. So I was able to refer them to someone, save them thousands of dollars, and I also got the deal. So it was kind of a win-win for everyone. But it's pretty rare. Most people, when they're in probate, they're ready to roll. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thanks.
Cool, man. How are you marketing right now?
So actually I did a pretty good job setting up my mailers over the holidays in December. I set them up, or I staggered them to come out every week, starting the end of into January. So now I'm getting a steady stream of leads or calls coming in. So I'm looking to just keep that going.
Yeah.
I am getting a lot of stuff from Baltimore City. I feel like stopping advertising in Baltimore City because I'm getting a lot of stuff that's like houses that just aren't really worth much. I mean, like one of the contracts that I got was for a house in West Saratoga. You know, house is basically worthless, but the guy said that he'd be willing to just sign over the property with like without getting paid. So I was like, all right, if I pay the water bill, like, and I flipped the house for like $5,000, you know, that's still something. So
it's worth taking a shot at. And I'll tell you, for many years, I had maybe at least a year where I didn't even do Baltimore at all. And I just did the counties, and I still got tons of those phone calls. it's really interesting that it's the most motivated area, right? I mean, because
Yeah.
obviously they almost are worthless in that area. So even if you're, you send something to the county for 123 Main Street in Glen Burnie, right? Well, that guy might own some stuff in the hood that he wants to get rid of, and he'll call you and say, hey, I don't want to sell this property, but I want to sell these other crappy ones on Saratoga, because that's where their pain point is. So yeah, it's really interesting. We were like, well, let's stop just sending the stuff that has no value. And then I realized, well, we're still getting the calls. But one thing you can do is you can put a minimum tax assessment of $50K on your mailing list when you're doing a mailing list in a list source. And if you do that minimum tax assessment of $50K, it'll get rid of a lot of really low end properties, because like most of Baltimore, even if it's only worth $10K, has a tax assessment of much higher than $10K, because obviously they want to collect as much taxes as possible. So, just put something that doesn't let you send a mailer to someone who owns a house that has a $10K tax assessment, right? That's certainly going to be a pretty crappy house usually in a bad neighborhood. So I would do 50, but I still got plenty of those calls even doing that. Maybe it'll minimize them a little bit though. Cool, man. I'm glad you're doing some marketing. It's awesome that's going well. Well, who else has some questions? We're about an hour in, and if there's any questions in particular, we'll jump through them. If not, then one to call, and I'll talk to you guys on Thursday. We are doing 12 o'clock on Thursday, so everybody knows. We normally do 4, but I'm flying out, and so I'll be doing that. And then next week, I'm going to be on a cruise. I'm still going to do our meetings, but I'm going to have to do them over the phone. So there will be a new link. Look on the Facebook group, and there'll be a different link. It won't be Zoom. It'll be more like a conference call. So because that's all I can really do on the cruise, unfortunately. I'm hoping that'll go well. Fingers crossed. The last time I used my phone, it did work very well. But internet, no chance. I had like 0 internet. I paid like $300 for the internet, and it just did not. I could even like send an email. Well, it was really funny too, because Delonte got the cheap internet for like $100, and I paid like $350. And come to find out, like we were sending stuff together, and both of us were getting nothing. So I was feeling like you just paid whatever they were willing to get you for. And I should have probably went and complained, but I just never do. I should have went and asked them for my money back. But not falling for that this year. I'm not buying $350 internet. It doesn't work. So, but we'll do I'll have a call plan where I'll have unlimited time so I can call in. Jason, any questions? Or are you all good, man? You check in the glove department and see if you got one in there for me. I think he's frozen. Because look, I think he's frozen. He is frozen. Because I was like, he's just looking at me. I was like, that's the best negotiation stare I've ever seen. Like, dude, you couldn't negotiate with him. He doesn't even move. All right, he must be frozen. He's probably in the glove department right now. All right, cool. Well, if there's no other questions, then we'll end for today, and I'll talk to everybody on Thursday. Like I said, everybody, it's a new year. Let's get pumped. Let's get looking for some deals. And, I would say at a minimum, like, let's find some stuff we can evaluate and jump through, because if you're making offers, that's your number one activity to make you money. So if you're not great at it and you don't have the confidence to do it yet, then just start doing it. And, let's go through the exercise so you can get better at it. I promise you it gets a lot easier really quickly once you've done it. And it's pretty scary at first, but then it does get a lot easier once you've done it. So, and one of the, I think, most valuable things we do here is I can sit and evaluate deals with you, show you comps, and talk about renovation budgets, and we can do all that. So you can do the most productive activity that we do in any of these. Like, as a real estate investor, my money and income is going up if I'm focusing on finding deals. Everything else is just the noise, right? It's a busy work. But finding deals is the engine of the business. So like, it runs the car. We don't necessarily need back seats or even windows, right? If it's nice out, probably need windows right now. But if we have an engine, we can get somewhere, like some wheels and a steering wheel probably. And that's deals for us. So if you're finding deals, you're going to make money. If you're doing deals, you're going to make money. If you're getting too caught up in the weeds, then you probably won't be making offers. And if you're not making offers, pretty much no chance you're going to make money. Right? It's like you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So if you're not making an offer, no chance of anyone ever giving you a deal. So I would love for you to get in a situation, even if you're pretty new, you're like, I got a yes, and I'm afraid and I don't know what to do, because now I can jump in and give you a hand and say, hey, well, let's look at it and see what to do. And let's put a plan together. right? Maybe we should say no. Maybe we should say yes. I don't know. But like when we dig in, we're going to do a high level of digging in so we can move forward. So let me know if anybody has some deals. I would give the challenge for the people that are on the call. It's like, let's look at something between now and Thursday and bring some stuff to the call. Just send it to my email. I know everyone has my email. So just send it to me and we'll bring the MLS up and we'll dig in and do some number running and get you making an offer. Because I like got to get some no's, right? The more no's we get, the closer we get to a yes. And then we poop our pants when we get the yes. It's kind of like me on the courthouse steps. I look at 600 deals. I get like 599 no's. When I finally win, I just poop in my underwear and just like, oh man, what did I miss? Every single time I win a deal on the courthouse steps, I watch people pay $30K too much for like a month. They let me win a deal. And I'm like, well, how did I win this deal? And even me, as long as I've been in the game, I'm like, what did I miss? Now, the good news is every single time I haven't missed anything and I wasn't wrong. I think they just felt sorry for me. And eventually it's a numbers game. It's a great lesson. If you do enough of anything, eventually you'll find that little crack and you'll get some crumbs that they drop on the ground. A couple times they let me win because maybe they bought 2 properties that day and they didn't have any more funds on them, so they couldn't buy the property. And they were just like, hey, good deal. They high-fived me. And I think at some level they realize if they don't let me win forever, I might just come shoot the place up. So they're probably trying to, just give me a little something to keep me from going insane. And at some point, I won't continue to lose forever. I think they give me like 1 deal a month just to keep me from like going crazy on them. So I imagine that's the case. But you wonder why when you see them pay so much, and the same thing with the MLS. We watch people pay 20, 30, 40K too much, and then we get a deal, and we're like, well, why did that happen? It's a numbers game, I promise you. You just keep working, and someone's going to let you get a deal. It's the reward. It's the flipping gods giving you a reward. The universe, right? They're sending you some love because you put the work in. And that's pretty much how it works. I know it's very scientific, by the way. That's my scientific method for finding deals. Just do the work and then the universe will provide you with the deal. So my mom invented that system. That's her kind of system. But you get my point, right? Keep putting that work in and you'll be good. So, hey, let's have a challenge with everyone that's on the call. Let's find something to evaluate on Thursday, right? And then let's just look at it. Doesn't have to be anything more than that. Let's just see what you got. Samir, I know you're in the game. So find one deal we can look at. Everyone, okay? Anyone who's willing to jump in. And Jason, pull a question out of your console and be ready next time, okay? Because I know you have a list of 20 or 30 questions in your console. Make sure it's prepared and ready. That's your responsibility. Make sure it's a good one, though. Hey, Mita.
I have a quick question. Last week's call, you said that you were updating the training. I was just wondering when that was going to get updated.
Yeah, right now. So great question. It is going to be updated. You guys should have access to it like this week because it's done. We're just double checking everything, make sure it's working. I'll probably go and give you guys access in the next day or two if you want. Just know that if there's anything missing in the training or not working correctly, send me an email, send it to Delante and he'll fix it because he's going through it now. But for you guys, you're already in the group. I'm kind of testing it right now to make sure there's like nothing weird in there. But if so, look for it in the next day or two, and you'll see that it's a lot of new training in there. We put it in the academy. So with the academy and how it's different is that it actually has tests at the end of each module. There's more additional modules. I actually put additional stuff in there that we didn't have. So a lot of new training, good stuff. We have a resource center, which is really cool. Instead of you like looking for the documents everywhere, we have one resource center where all the documents are. And I also went through all those documents over the last 2 months and I made sure they were all accurate. They were the right documents. They weren't like some weird old document I was using. It's the best, most recent documents. Everything's got branding on it. It's got cool colors. It looks professional and there's a lot of additional stuff in there. So if you guys go through and you see anything that doesn't feel like it's working right, feel free to give Delante. His mission over the next couple weeks is like, if you see anything that's not perfect, that he can fix it and make it right.
Okay, and it would still be the same login and stuff?
It'll probably be a new one, and that's what we have to, but he'll send you all those. I'm going to tell him to get everyone on. He'll send you all the new login credentials. Just save the email on your computer, and then you'll always have the login. Usually we do. I create like a little education folder that I put all this stuff in so I can go back and find it. But I'll talk with him now, and you guys will be converted over by the end of the week, okay?
Great, thank you.
So keep an eye out.
I have a question for Jason. How did your stop work order thing go?
Oh, yeah, good question.
They just called me while I was on this call. It's
okay.
Still dealing with that. It's a pain in the ultimate neck. They said they want all trades to call their permits in before they'll lift it, before we start doing any work.
Mhm. That's usually how it works. So you gotta get electric, plumbing, and HVAC. If you're
Yeah.
doing HVAC, I don't, but whatever, you usually have to get them. But yeah, you have electrician and plumber. Is that where you're struggling to find someone to do that?
Electrician's going out today, and then I'm just waiting for the plumber and HVAC guy to pull their permits. I thought I could just do, like replacing exterior doors permits, to pay the fine
Mhm.
to get it started, but apparently I can't do that. So every time you call down there, somebody tells you something different.
Yeah.
Downfall.
True. Yeah. And then the thing is, they already know that you're doing more than replacing exterior doors.
Yeah.
So yeah, you kind of have to go with whatever they tell you need to do at this point.
Yeah. I mean, they told me that I had to have a permit called in just to attach the fine to. So, that was the only reason for that, but I didn't know I had to have them all
Okay.
in at once. So,
Yeah.
learning phase.
Yeah. I mean, here's the good part is you'll know how to pull these permits for when it's, a good idea to do so. In Baltimore, I've been getting caught a lot more in Baltimore over the last year or two. So I've been leaning towards pulling permits more in Baltimore than anywhere. I think they've like upped all the permit people in Baltimore. Like they've put a serious team of people running around trying to catch you.
Baltimore
I don't
City or
know.
County? City or county?
Baltimore City. Yeah, city.
Okay.
Great question. The county, not so much. County's pretty lenient, pretty easy. Baltimore City is pretty crazy. PG County is pretty crazy too.
Okay.
AA County and Baltimore County are pretty lenient with their inspections and stuff. They don't even make you pull permits for everything. Where like PG and Baltimore, they make you pull permits for like cutting the grass. Like, so yeah, they're just really crazy. If you put a screen door on, like they want you to pull a permit to put a screen door on. Like it's nuts. And then most of the time you're pulling the permit. Here's where they're getting really crazy is you pull the permit and they don't even inspect it or anything. They just want you to come pay the money and say, I got a permit and then give them money for it. So they don't even, so anything that they don't inspect in AA and Baltimore County, they don't make you pull a permit for. So you can't go pull a permit for putting an exterior door and some new windows in. If there's no change to the size, then you don't need a pull permit. You don't even need a permit for that because they don't inspect it. So, but in Baltimore City, they said, hey, we're going to make them pull permits so we can collect the money because they're desperate for money. They're so desperate, because they're ran so poorly. And in counties, they're not so desperate for money because people want to live there.
I'm finding that it's pretty good
That's
to, learn some of the codes and stuff. So that way, when you're looking at properties and, you think pulling permits may be a possibility that, that's where you're going to get a lot of surprises, even like breakers and stuff. I think they said it's like $40 per breaker to have like the new ones that are up to code and, times that by 10 and, there's 400 bucks right there and, little other things that a person won't notice. But it's a good learning.
Good. Yeah. Good point. You definitely. Yeah. It's like that is the benefit of getting caught. I mean, I don't know. There's like, you don't ever want to get caught if you have a choice, but when you do, you get an opportunity to see what it's like to pull permits and do it the, complete legal way. And, what that feels like. And, then obviously when you see how hard it is, you're still going to try not to pull permits. If you're me, I still not try. I don't care. I'm getting caught. Now I do pull permits anywhere where I assess that I'm going to get caught, but I'm telling you, it takes me twice as long to do a rehab when I pull permits. I can tell you the math. It's actually like another month and a half when I pull permits is my average. So permits slow everything up. And more importantly, that's my biggest thing. They don't really cost that much more money. They totally slow me up though. And I'm very impatient. I can't stand taking 3 months to renovate something I can do in 6 or 7 weeks. And that's been my experience, especially in Baltimore City or PG County. Permits are even more difficult there. But, sometimes you're going to have to pull them. Sometimes you're foolish not to pull them because you're doing so much work that you're likely going to get caught. Like Mita, if you had to do work on the house you're buying, there's no permits to pull. You just clean it up and call it a day. But, when you start doing like big, crazy work on a house, especially in Baltimore City, good luck.
How do you
Which
work
I have a
those?
few going right now, so wish me luck.
How do you
What
work
were you
those
saying?
when permits are involved so that your project is going efficiently and you're not sitting for a week here and there over?
Yeah. First of all, it's getting the plumber, electrician, HVAC guys to work together as much as possible is a big thing. They get very used to working individually, and they give you a lot of crap about working it. Like, oh, well, I'll wait for the HVAC guy to get out, or they want to all work on their own. And if you do that, then just think about it. It might take a week to do each one, and it's 3 weeks in. Generally, when we're running it really well, I can get plumbing, electric, and HVAC done in like a week and a half, 2 weeks. And that's when you're doing it pretty quickly. It could take as much as a month if you're waiting for one guy to get out. Then he finishes, you got to wait 3 days for the other guy to start. So I at least want them to start stacking and overlapping some, because maybe the HVAC should be done first, but like as soon as he's got the ducts in, I'm not, I'll be like, hey man, I'm gonna have the plumber and electrician starting to run their wires and their pipes and stuff so they can get going. So we want them stacked on top of each other as much as possible. And that gets you done a lot faster if you can help that. Now, they're always going to tell you, oh, we can't do it, it's inefficient. But you have to tell them and be the leader, like, yeah, you can do it. Believe me, they can. They just have to choose to want to do it. It's not a big deal. They just act like little babies sometimes.
Gotcha.
So awesome, guys. Well, I'll talk to everybody on Thursday. And good luck, Jason, and everyone else will find some deals. Maybe we'll have some cool stuff to look at. Everybody have a good couple days, and thanks for jumping the call.
You too. Thank you.
See you guys.
See ya.
Thanks, Mike.